If you love talking about cats, but your friends and family are kind of over it, this is the podcast for you. Join your hosts, Danielle Stray Woolley and Elizabeth Calico Gearhart, on the Jersey Podcats, where everyday cat lovers share funny stories, challenging situations, and ask their questions about cats. All right, let's get right into this episode.
Hi, everybody. I'm Danielle Woolley.
And I'm Elizabeth Gearhart, and we are the Jersey Podcats.
Nope, that's all right. We're leaving it.
It sounds like Radio
switching.
Lab. You know how they do on Radio Lab, the beginning of Radio Lab? Have you ever heard that? That's what we sound like. Oh, here comes Mercutio.
Oh, good. Maybe some cats will hang out with us today.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to very shortly introduce you guys to our guests. And for those who are our happy, loyal listeners, thank you for coming back. You will recognize our guest because she has been on before. We have Erica Messer from Wolfie's Wish. Say hello.
Hello, ladies. It's so nice to see you again.
Hi. And I like how I said, I'm going to introduce her soon. No, I changed my mind. I'm introducing her right now.
You're allowed.
So previously, you guys have to go back and listen to her other episode. We got a lot of people reach out to us saying thank you for the topic, because when it comes to grief and animals, you know, we talk a lot about getting support for grief for family members or for self or things you're going through. And there's not much out there for grieving animals. So Erica, in our other episode, we'll link it into the show notes, where we have a great conversation around that. But for today, we are going to be talking about another topic very important to animals as well, and important to me. And I'm happy to share, what I've been going through or what I've experienced in the past, as well as one of my cats. But we're going to be talking about supporting animals with anxiety. And more specifically, Erica's going to share with us how through all of her journey of all the things she's been doing, not only for herself and for cats through Wolfie's Wish, she now is assisting animals with anxiety through music.
Yeah.
So jump on in there, Erica. Talk to us. What's going on? How did we get here?
Sure. Well, I've been a harpist pretty much my entire life, professionally since 1998, I think is when I started getting paid.
Nice.
And, there was a point where I was presented with the opportunity to play in hospitals, but I needed to have some clinical music certification. It was actually Stanford Hospital, and they're very rigid about the way that they present music to patients, which I have so much respect for. So I began the course of it's a self-study course, and I had a mentor, but then the pandemic hit, and I really think like we all just kind of put things on hold and wanted to feel like what's going on, right? And so I picked it back up, and I am going to be certified as a clinical musician, okay? But what has really interested me on this journey, because during the pandemic, since the pandemic, it's when I started Wolfie's Wish, and I had this awareness like, wow, music really helped me in my grief. And why don't I explore resuming this certification to not only help pet parents during that grieving process, of self-care and just being calm and still, but hey, does this music affect animals too? And how so? And it's been really fascinating that there's been a lot of people that are already have already been studying this. And the best part is it's not that different. So a lot of classical compositions are clinically proven to help reduce dogs with anxiety. I'm still doing the research on cats. My cats don't respond when I do my exercises, right? And my submitting assignments.
They're cats. Why would they? Why would they make it easy?
First time I really started playing harp around on Vanilli, who's a very she's the typical scaredy cat. She just was like, what is that? And I get out the harmonica, and it's like, she's really sensitive to noise. So I haven't done enough studying on my own cats to see, okay, yeah, because they're cats. I don't know. So that's still to be continued, but it's a really interesting journey.
Well, it is interesting. Danielle, you just turned a lovely shade of purple. Anyway.
Because my monitors are not happy today. So whoever's on YouTube, we've got a disco going. And I actually, if you want, I could turn on my disco lights to distract you from the disco lights. So let's do that while you're talking.
Well, I was going to say, so if anyone's on YouTube, and I've mentioned this many times, my beloved Checkers, who's on the wall behind me as the general, was the queen of the household. Well, king, really. I mean, even though she was female, but I had this song I would play. I forget what kind of music it was. It was like some sort of soft, soothing music. And she would actually lay against my computer when I was playing that on my computer. So she really enjoyed that music. So I think you're really onto something. And I do think cats respond to music. And I think it's just finding out what it is. But I love the harp in the background because we associate that with angels and comfort and,
Yeah,
So I wonder if we could do a music video with the harp and the disco lights I now have on, or if my anxiety is going to force me to turn it off in a few minutes.
Wait a minute. No, I have LED lights installed on this
oh
stage.
my gosh.
I did not know that was going to be incorporated into the show. And if you want, I can go over and get the battery pack, but you might have to do some banter.
Oh,
yeah, well, you know what we'll do? We'll do that for the bonus episode. Hint, spoiler alert, we're doing the bonus episode. So, but we'll explain more what that is in a bit. So for the anxiety side of things, I've shared previously about my cat, Thor, that went through some issues where we brought him to the vet. He, was having, I don't know why I can't talk today. Let's start over. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Danielle. Our cat, Thor, was experiencing issues where he was afraid of the litter box. He was holding it in. He couldn't go. There was some discussion around, does he just have like a hair knot stuck back there and that's why he's scared? Or is he truly having anxiety symptoms? So after trying everything else, I finally gave in and we gave him medication for it and he's been better, but we also shaved him at the same time. So we're not sure now. We're kind of like, he's happy now. We don't want to disturb too many things, but if he doesn't need to be on medication, is there other things we can do? So we've been trying to give him things each day to look forward to, like kind of adjusting his routine. He loves the gravy tube. So like he's now getting 2 a day so that he comes out more and he's been more playful and rolling around. But we've also been experimenting a bit with music and using YouTube on the TV, putting on those things with the little fish flying around. But we have to be careful because some of my other cats try to climb through the TV to get to those fish. So like, where did you even start with, experimenting on your cats, I guess is my question.
Well, I think it's a new thing. And so what I hope to do is, I feel like I need to have my paper in hand to then do the like scientific experiments. Right now, I'm still just gathering data on what people are already doing. But it'd be interesting to see, because I've had experience where dogs will come and sleep next to the harp. Like that's very, they're easier to I guess like run a test on. But with the cats, I would think what I'm going to try to do is like put their bed next to the harp. Does that invite them to come over? And just start doing some experiments like that and seeing what the results are. Luckily, I have 3 cats. And so,
3 test subjects.
Yeah, I've got 3 test subjects to find out, what do they respond to? I did notice, though, when I was playing a lot yesterday, that they all went to sleep in the next room. So we have a big loft apartment here, and they were over on the couch and went to sleep. So they kind of came from their cave upstairs. And so, I think just keeping a log of like what my experience is and then combining it with what other people are doing will evolve into hopefully, music for cats. I mean, if I ask Google Play or Google Home to say, and I'm like, okay, I'm leaving, please play some music for cats. It does, but you know what? It's a lot of bird sounds.
Yeah.
It just wants to play bird sounds.
There's only so many like hours of bird noises I think they can take, I'm sure.
I mean, I was actually playing some this morning, and Peachy, one of my oldest cat, he's like, well, where are they? And I was so bad because he's got his hunting face on. So it's interesting that that's what Google selects, to play. But as far as I know, a lot of classical compositions and just even slowing down tempos encourages this process of entrainment where our heartbeats and respiratory rates can sync up with the tempo of music. So it's a lot of interesting things being published and studied.
Yeah.
So-
And I can think too for like Calm app, for example. I used that at the beginning. I was like, I'm not using a stupid app because I was trying to disconnect from technology. But when my anxiety is heightened, it helps me a lot. And actually, we joke about how many cat photos I have on my phone. I wonder if there's a way to tell how many hours of the Calm app I've played because
I
I
don't-
switch between like noises and music and ocean waves to kind of help. And I do notice that when I put the more upbeat stuff, like that's like my get stuff done mode. But then when I
Right.
put the more relax or like anxiety calmness app, it like brings you down.
Yeah, so I experiment a lot with that too. I happen to live in a really noisy area. There's always construction and noise traffic. So I have a fountain outside, and then I always play white noise just to kind of numb out some of that. So a lot of the things that I've also been studying are how affected we are about certain types of noises and certain types of frequencies, right? So to then dial in on what calms us often will have the same effect on animals. So I've even read studies about people going to the zoo and playing for elephants, and these normally aggressive elephants just come over and start, playing with the fence and things like that. So it's really fascinating. It's really fascinating to see how something invisible is almost magical, right? How it affects us.
Yeah, have they done any studies on the actual vibration? So when you play your harp, I'm sure vibration goes through the floor, and maybe dogs like to feel that vibration in their bones, maybe cats don't. So I know it's audio, but it's also like you can feel it in the rest of your body, right?
Yeah. There's a pianist, Lisa Spector. She fosters dogs, and whoever wrote this article about her was that when she would practice her piano, these foster puppies would just pile up and go to sleep under the piano, which is adorable and just really interesting. But as far as, King David played the harp to soothe people. We know that the harp is a soothing instrument, and I hope that it keeps me healthy because I'm right up next to it, right? So I always think like, oh, these good vibrations are like keeping my cells healthy. And as far as, how those frequencies transfer into the environment and how animals respond to that, I don't have those answers yet, but there are studies about that. And we do know that humans are receptive to certain frequencies. In fact, on YouTube, there's a lot of, I think it's like 420 hertz.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Frequencies that binaural beats and all of these things that help us focus. Because I too have anxiety. I have, mental health issues. And so I'm always looking for what do I respond to best, and how does that make me feel? And then how can I implement that into the music that I play? What's the common denominator?
Yeah, it's like with cats purring, they're giving you their vibrations, but then maybe they don't like them when they're too much of a vibration. Like I think back to while I was checking in on Thor, one of the things that was also going on at the same time is there was a house being built behind me. So the construction in the beginning was super awful for me, let alone the cats. And after a while, I started to get used to it. But for him, he was probably hiding because the constant vibration of the ground from the trucks and the digging and all of that stuff. So it's interesting that you mentioned that the cats went into the other room because they probably loved the sound, but maybe not that close. Like they found like their safe, like ozone around it.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I've even read that cats purring could be related to them healing themselves. So if we get into, the chanting of Om, for example, and what that resonance does to our bodies, there's a similarity there to people are supposing that maybe that's part of the reason why cats purr. But, conversely, if we think about how animals respond to what we would say, offensive noises, car alarms, smoke alarms, loud bangs, sudden things like that. Dogs can go darting off in the park because of some
fireworks,
disruption. Yeah, fireworks, exactly. So we know that they're affected, right? And it's the interesting part is, okay, well, how do we fine tune the frequencies and the rhythms and tempos to soothe them in a sense where, you know, there's a lot of animals in shelters or daycare, right? And or holiday care. And what can we play that's like a general, you know, playlist for this? And
That
there
is
are
not birds, because I am sick of birds
Right.
as well when I
So-
put these on.
It sounds like they show an affinity for piano and harp. Are there any, I mean, obviously not drums.
Right.
From what we were just saying.
Well, guitar. I've seen acoustic guitar
Yeah,
videos of cats
acoustic
like
guitar.
kind of like, what is that? And climbing up on the guitar and just loving it.
I think for your listeners to experiment. So there's also a new streaming service you can subscribe to called Whole Tones. And the developer of that has studied music therapy and knows what we respond to. But I think it's like, play some music, find some playlists on YouTube, and then, or Dog TV or whatever you want to search under, and then monitor your pet's behavior, see how it makes you feel, because our animals respond to us too. So if we're in a good place, we're calm, chances are they are too. And that's where it's tricky to know, okay, well, I have to leave the house for the day to go to work, and, you know, there's this construction next door. What can I play? I think it's still, for me, I don't have an answer. And I think each animal is different. I mean, come on, cats' personalities, holy moly. Where do you even, you know, draw a common line there?
Yeah. And it's
Right.
funny because I have a friend who puts on like old movies to play in the background, like old black and white films and stuff, to just kind of have noise. I have someone else that puts like the Game Show Network on. And for me, I'm like, if I was a cat, I would like start twitching with all this noise in the background all day. I would almost rather quiet, because when my human's home, you know, there's a ton of music going on. Like, I'll play random stuff. I actually like listening to like the 90s and 2000s hip hop channel on YouTube. And in the beginning, my cats were like, what is going on? But they're used to it now. They're like, whatever. And just like, don't even like acknowledge it now.
Yeah, and we become adaptive to sound. So, you know, if you think about our ancestors, they didn't have refrigerators humming and like washing machines going. And so I think our animals adapt as well to their environment, right? But
I wish I could. That's one of my issues that I have with my anxiety, is anytime I switch, like even when I'm traveling, like I bring stuff to like cover up lights, and I bring a white noise machine with me.
Me too.
I have one that I put depending on where the noise is coming from, if it's coming from the hallway or if it's coming from outside. And I can't adapt. I unplug the TV. I unplug the refrigerator. Sorry, I'm that person cleaning people who go back in after me.
No, I'm very sensitive. I'm very sensitive to sound myself. And there are certain things that I can't go to. Sometimes like big festivals outside where there's sounds coming from multiple directions. Like I'm ready to just shut down. I'm like, I gotta go. It's very annoying. It's an annoying quirk to have, but yay. I go around with it. And I also have noise canceling headphones I wear with nothing going on, just to eliminate what's going on in the background.
Well, I don't think that we as a society realize how much sound affects us. And I do think, like right now, there's a lawn service out at the neighbors. And that is a noise I hate, is that the electric blowers. And I think it makes me irritable to hear that, because and I think we underrate how sounds affect us. And it would be nice if I didn't have to hear that all summer long. And you know, there's other sounds here too. So we live in the township, and we have woods in our backyard on purpose. Like a lot of people cut their woods down, but I won't cut our trees down. And we have a lot of overgrowth, and we have this cacophony at night of sounds, of the chorus of crickets, and I don't know what all they are, but they are so loud. And we'll have the door open.
Are you ever like opening the door like, hey guys, it's past 10 o'clock. Calm down out there.
I'm calling the cops.
What do you do? But the cats don't seem to mind that, because they go outside at night. But
it's also part of their system too. Like, especially they're like wake up and go to sleep. When our stray cat stays in, I actually close all the windows, and I actually try to close some of the blinds to try to trick him. It doesn't work though, because as soon as you start to see the sun dusk, like the dawn comes up, and then he starts hearing the outdoor bug noises. He's like, all right, it's time to get up. And he doesn't care if it's like 5 a.m.
Yeah, same here. When the birds start, like I hate it in the summer because our it gets light so early and the cats are like, "Oh, I heard a bird. Get the heck up and feed
Yep.
me." And I'm like, "It is 4:30. No."
So, I mean, we're talking a lot about sound and music and how that affects cats. Is there anything else you want to share about things that you've seen so far, knowing you're still going through all your research of like things people can look out for to identify anxiety in cats, or other ways that they can get support for themselves or their cats through Wolfie's Wish?
At the present moment, I have a YouTube channel with relaxation music. Okay. So you could go to that and check out and see if any of that, appeals. But I think everyone needs to find something that works for them, and maybe talking to the vet or talking to some animal behaviorists to maybe address or treat something. And I think if there's big changes in your cat's behavior all of a sudden, that's an indicator something's not right. And is there anything going on in my environment that's changed dramatically, or is it a health issue with the cat? You've got to really look at things holistically and see what is it that needs to be addressed first.
True. And with yourself is kind of the theme I got out of this too. Because also one of the things is I was going through a very difficult time at the time that Thor was going through his stuff. So for a little bit, I thought it was my fault. I'm like, oh no, is he feeding his energy off me? Is it my fault?
No.
Well, yeah, we had someone on the show who said that cats just want us to be happy. So they feel like that's their job. So they do feel things based on our emotions, I think.
And I do think that they feed off of us, definitely. And if we're taking care of ourselves, then our animals are benefiting from that, right? They're our companions, they're our soul animals. And then, if anyone wants to subscribe to Wolfie's Wish, as soon as I have news about, I would love to have a specific channel subscriber access on music that I record and release. So if anyone wants to go to Wolfie's Wish and subscribe, then you'll be notified about that. And because it's, still developing, still continuing, but I am really excited to see where this goes, especially in relation to animal hospice and palliative care, end of life care for our cats and our dogs.
So Erica, are you composing your own music for your harp?
I am. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I'm working with my mentor, a playlist that I can then, I don't want to go into a studio and make CDs because nobody does that anymore. So I'm going to look for a streaming service that people could subscribe to. Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's very exciting. It's something I've never really thought I would get into. But I think there's a need for it. And I think it's a really neat niche, and I love trying things out and kind of exploring under nooks and crannies that maybe aren't so common. It's just kind of part of my personality.
Yeah, well, I was going to say is we really want to thank you for bringing this up as another option for things that people could look into for their cats.
Right.
So gone are the days of I'm getting a cat just so I could throw a bowl of dry food on the floor and let it live its life. That's what it used to be years ago. But cats are very intricate and they need all these things too.
Yeah. And also without giving medication for everything, right? I think as a society, we overprescribe things for ourselves. And maybe if we're doing that for ourselves, then we're going to try to take that mentality to our animals. So what if you could explore different modalities of healing, from music, from Reiki, from massage, and acupuncture, and things like that, to address certain behavioral problems or anxiety or illness, and I'm not saying don't take medicine or don't give your pet medicine. I want to make that crystal clear.
Oh yeah. We always say, go to the professionals.
Yeah.
The whole idea here is for people who are experiencing challenges or want to do more for their cats, want to know what else is going out in the world for other people's cats. This is just a way for them to learn more things and see what's out there.
Danielle, I want to ask you one question, revisit something from the very beginning of the episode. Sure. When you talked about Thor being afraid to use the litter box and you said he would hold it, that is a good cat. He didn't go pee all over your clothes or your bed or anything?
Well, let's take a step back here. He for sure did. So, but he was peeing outside the box first and holding in his poo. Sorry, everybody. Hope you're not drinking coffee or having breakfast right now while you're listening. And then to the point though, like where he felt bad, like he wasn't doing it on purpose. Like it wasn't out of spite. Like I could just sense that something was wrong. And it all started when I went on a cleaning spree. So that's my first recollection of something changing. So I like moved his litter box. I changed the litter. I lit candles. I did cleaning. So I thought I overloaded him. So again, I thought it was all my fault. But at the same time, I had been going through a lot. He wasn't getting as much attention. He wasn't being brushed as often. So when we originally took him to the vet, like, why is he doing this all of a sudden? He's never had an issue since we rescued him from the Monmouth County SPCA. And then all of a sudden he just was. So I thought he was picking up my stress and just peeing because I was stressed out. And then took him to the vet. They couldn't find anything wrong. They did blood work. He checked out normal. Then he started holding in his poop too. And when we would pick him up, it would just fall out of him.
Oh no.
Oh,
And he was
poor
embarrassed and he would
baby.
run and hide.
Yeah.
So we were like, what is going on? And when we picked up his tail from the back end, he kind of like cried. And that's where we're like, well, maybe there's like a clump or something there, but we weren't going to go digging around in there. So we took him to be, we were going to take him to be groomed, but I figured if he was stressed out already, I didn't want to do that to him. So we went to the YouTube and bought like high-end grooming buzzer stuff for animals. And my husband and I like pet him and gave him gravy treats and like buzz a little bit. And then like, it was a whole ordeal. It took like 4 days to accomplish. This poor cat was walking around with like stuff everywhere. But then he got a little bit better, was still not going in because at this point he's already afraid of going in. And that's when we worked with our vet. And she was like, listen, I know you don't want to use medication, but I think he needs it. So we have him on, I call it his happy pill. I forgot exactly which one it is. And he's gotten much better. But now I'm wondering, is he just better because of the other stuff that was going on that's been resolved? So my husband and I have been talking about maybe pairing him back, but I don't want to do that without the supervision of his doctor or his vet.
Right.
And also too, I noticed he had been hiding a lot again. So I was getting nervous that something was wrong, like after we got back from our trip. But I realized that the pill he was on, I used to be on, because for my anxiety and depression, I tried medications too, but they knocked me out so bad. I just couldn't function on them. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm over drugging this poor cat and he's just sleeping all day. So we switched his pill from the morning to the evening and he's much more awake and happy during the day now. So it's a process. But again, we're working with our vet. And you just don't know. You don't know what animals are going through because they don't really talk. But once you know your kids, you know your kids.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what chat rooms or Facebook groups are so good for, is asking these little questions that maybe like, right. We had a weird thing happen with Millie. So Millie is a very fluffy cat and we noticed a scratch on her ear and we thought that like she and Peachy maybe played too hard or I don't know, but it actually turned out to be some kind of allergy and she's like scratching in the same spot. So we were like figuring out what's going on and the vet, just thought it was a scratch, but I've actually read a lot about cats having allergies and that they can be allergic.
Elizabeth knows all about that.
They can develop like shellfish allergies just like we can. And so even litter box dust can cause allergic reactions. So we've switched our litter boxes into these automatic ones that use gel crystals. I guess it's not gel, but crystals to eliminate dust. And she's much better. But it's like cats and dogs are so hard to dial into what's going on. Is it food? Is it environment? Is it stress? Is it allergies? And you just have to kind of go through this process of elimination, which is really frustrating. But
Yeah,
posting is helpful because people will love to respond and support and just relate.
Well, we tried posting Max's issue because Max scratched all the fur off his face, his ears, his throat, and it was going back. And finally figured out he's on steroid and Zyrtec. When we added the Zyrtec, it finally made a huge difference. And also now he's on cyclosporine. And I want to cut the steroid back because he's getting super fat because it makes him hungry and upsets his stomach. But it was really hard to figure out. So the original vets that I took him to said it could be a food allergy. And I took him to an allergy vet and they said, yeah, it could be a food allergy. But then I took him to this super vet who's like allergy and skin and all this stuff for cats. And he said only 3% of cats actually have food allergies.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and it was torture it was torture trying to restrict his food because he had been a starving little stray when I got him and he loved his food so much. And so now if any other cat in the house gets food, he has to have food too because of all this restrictive period that we went through. It was terrible. But the Zyrtec really made a difference, but I did that with the vet. So you really, as you mentioned, Erica, yeah, you can try different things, but you really have to talk to your vet about it because you could make things worse or just let
Wow.
things go, right?
Well, we
Right.
definitely covered a lot. And as you could see, we said this last time, we can do this again. So you guys will probably see Erica again. And spoiler alert, you will, because we're going to do a nice little treat for you guys. So Erica mentioned playing the harp and everything that she's doing. She's actually going to be performing a piece for us to use. I know I'm going to love it because, like I said, I like listening to soothing things. We hope that your cats also love it. And if you love what you're listening to, make sure you subscribe to us as well as Erica through Wolfie's Wish so you can continue to follow along.
Yeah, and definitely reach out if you see any behavioral changes in your cat about this, about my music, or if you respond to it. I would love to know because this feedback is so important for these eventual additional compositions I'm going to be doing. So,
Well, I'm going to subscribe to your YouTube channel today. I want to hear this harp music. I'm really excited.
thanks.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for listening. Let's keep the conversation going. Give this podcast a rating so other cat lovers can find it. Connect with the Jersey Podcats on social media or visit thejerseypodcats.com and leave a message sharing a story or question about cats. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next episode.